I've always had a soft spot for kids shows selling toys. There's something so fascinating about watching a story wrap itself around a product. The delicate balance between storytelling and advertising leads to some pretty wild premises. That is the case for an arcade game known as Miniskirt. What started as a simple dress-up game led to one of the wildest kids shows I've ever seen. Pretty Rhythm is an idol sports anime about the Prism show, a mixture of ice skating, singing, and dancing. At its peak stands the Prism Queen, one woman above all. But what does it take to stand at the top? And what sacrifices does this sport demand? Is it even fair to pit such young girls against each other? Let's go on a journey through ice skating, hell, the primeval sea, and for some reason, Buenos Aires. Pretty Rhythm follows Ida, a clumsy girl who can hear the voices of clothes. She's got a protective dad, a kind mom, and 3 younger siblings. When she goes out shopping, she's scouted to do the Prism show. Why? Because she did a really cool spin that looked like a prism jump, the defining technique of this sport. Ida gets paired with Rhythm, another girl at the mall, and the two perform a joint Prism show. Due to being clumsy, Ida can't skate and cries on the floor throughout most of it, but after seeing how sad her clothes are, finds the courage to stand up. With her clothes voice in her heart, Ida spins in the air, performing her first Prism jump. So that was a pretty strange first episode. Not much seems to happen except for that one big Prism jump. What are they anyway? The Prism jump is the highlight of every performance. They're a measure of skill in the sport, with the toughest one being the Aurora Rising, a jump so difficult it hasn't been seen in 13 years. The Aurora Rising is the goal of our second protagonist, Rhythm. While Ida's good with fashion, Rhythm's good at skating. During their first show, Rhythm skated just fine, but couldn't do a Prism jump. So, in the second episode, Ida gives her a makeover to help, and when she's wearing more personal clothes, Rhythm can finally do a Prism jump too, the first step towards the Aurora Rising. Rhythm's obsession with the Aurora Rising stems from her family trauma, because 13 years ago, she was abandoned by the most prominent woman to perform it, her mother. Ida's got her own family issues, but they're much tamer. Her dad doesn't want her doing the Prism show, and compared to what Rhythm's going to, it's night and day. On Mother's Day, the duo meets a girl named Natsuki whose parents are never around, and while Ida's sympathetic, Rhythm doesn't let the girl cry, because that would be recognizing her own pain. Rhythm's been carrying this trauma for years and fully believes she can reach her mother with the Aurora Rising. We learned earlier that clothing helps you jump, so what do you need to perform this one? To perform the Aurora Rising, girls must wear a wedding dress, a symbol of purity and devotion. So where are these 12-year-olds supposed to find one of those? Lucky for them, they hand them out at the tournaments. One for the dress, one for the shoes, and one for the accessory. So the race is on to the Aurora Rising. Due to the series' sporty inspiration, competition is a major theme. While Ida's style and rhythm skating have carried them thus far, how will they share a single tiara? This tension is examined in their first major tournament, the Tiara Cup, one of many tournaments that decide the Prism Queen. While Ida loves the Prism show, she doesn't have the drive to win. When Rhythm is late to her own performance, Ida buys her time, and when their outfits are stolen, Ida offers Rhythm the last outfit she has. Both times, the sacrifice costs her. Ida's stalling gets her a deduction, and without an outfit, Ida has to perform in her regular clothes. But you know what? Ida still finds a way to win. Right before the performance, the girls that robbed them throw some of the stolen outfits on stage, and this reawakens her love for clothes. Even in her basic, everyday outfit, Ida still shines. She performs a brand new jump and wins the Pure Crystal Tiara. While Rhythm is shocked at the result, she eventually joins Ida on the ring to celebrate. Now, the two are more than friends. They're also rivals. Back in the day, Rhythm's mother, Sonata, had one major rival, Kyoko, the current head of the girls' agency. The two were at the top of their game, performing new and daring jumps, but after one lost too many, she retired and started a family. Despite her absence from the rink, Kyoko never stopped waiting for her return and announced her plans to master the perfect jump, the Aurora Rising. In response to this, Sonata sought out the jump's creator, Kyoko's own mom. The Aurora demands a pure heart to reflect its light, and thus the performer must fully dedicate themselves to this jump. That's why they have to wear a wedding dress and why the training is so harsh. After a full year of practice, Sonata finally returns to the rink, and to everyone's surprise, she does it. She finally did the Aurora Rising. But despite Kyoko's praise, something feels off. The Aurora revealed something to her, something dark, something that she had to run from. Following this performance, Sonata fled the country, abandoning baby Rhythm. What does it take to be the best? This is a question the series tackles in its next tournament, the Summer Queen Cup. This time, the girls will be competing in a duo, not with each other, but with the best Prism star at their agency, Takamine Mion. As a popular idol, Mion grew up surrounded by adults, and with both parents in Buenos Aires, Mion lives alone. These circumstances explain why she's so hard to work with. To prepare them for the Summer Cup, Kyoko has the girls train as a trio. Aida picks the clothes, Rhythm's the best skater, and Mion, well, she sings. She sings and she can write lyrics. The three get closer as they train, but it's clear that Mion's an outsider. And as the Summer Cup gets closer, Mion sees that as a problem. Rather than raising each girl to her standard, Mion will let them compete together. And to that suggestion, their manager goes, "Good luck." The Summer Cup introduces the girls' new rivals, Serenon. Serena and Kanon are a manzai duo with a foul mouth. And yes, I'm gonna say Serena, not Serena. Serena's aggressive and Kanon's polite. When they find out that Mion won't be competing, they don't even bother watching the rest of the tournament. Instead, they show up backstage to talk smack at our main trio, demanding a proper match with Mion. But once again, Mion doesn't work well with others, so she's relying on Aida and Rhythm. After all, Rhythm's a great skater, and Aida's great with style. So why is it that when planning the performance, Rhythm picks the outfits? She's got a terrible fashion sense. Well, she's a friend, so Aida lets her. And when Aida can't keep up with the spins, Rhythm slows down. The resulting performance is quite tame. Both girls hold each other back, and neither of their strengths are on display. Before they go on stage, Aida and Rhythm get a peek at Serenon's training. And the girls are pretty ruthless with each other. They criticize every step and turn, because that's what rivals do. They bring each other up. This is why Serenon wins the Summer Cup. Their outfits are pretty wild, but they're meant to be. They bring out a great contrast on stage. This is also represented in the girls' Prism jump, two opposing forces that whip up a storm. This moment confirms what their manager had warned them of. Aida and Rhythm were not a good pair. The two were great friends, but they're terrible rivals. In their manager's words, an easily found oasis is just a mirage. The road to victory is so much longer. Following the Summer Queen Cup, Aida, Rhythm, and Mion form Mars, a unit named with the girls' initials. This happens on Aida and Rhythm's birthday, which Mion organizes. At first, she's unsure if the girls want to celebrate with her, but the two are more than receptive. A singer, a skater, and a girl with great style. These are the building blocks of Mars. The group's first conflict comes when Rhythm reveals her true goal. As the daughter of the legendary Sonata, she plans to perform the Aurora Rising, the greatest and most daring jump in the world. This infuriates Mion, who can't believe her friend is being so reckless. Frustrated, she gives Rhythm an ultimatum: give up her dream or leave the group. And after weighing her options, Rhythm decides. The following night, Rhythm gathers her friends to witness the Aurora Rising, but at the peak of her jump, she thinks of her mother. Despite what Sonata did to her, Rhythm still misses her mom. And that's what the Aurora reflects in her heart. Maybe, just maybe, this is what her mother saw. So what kind of heart does it take to survive the Aurora? Perhaps one with nothing and no one in it. The Crystal High Heel Cup is Mars' next major tournament, requiring girls to compete in trios. Since Mion joined them last, she struggles the most to integrate. While Ida and Rhythm are goofy kids, Mion sees herself as a tiny adult. She takes herself far too seriously to be a part of them. As part of the group's promotion, Mars have to promote an old curry shop in Akihabara. While the town has changed, this one restaurant hasn't. He doesn't even have cute maids. To make it more popular, Ida and Rhythm dress up, but Mion thinks they're being silly. She stubbornly refuses to change. This stubbornness is reflected in the old man, and when she sees it, she finally understands. Her attitude is holding Mars back, just like his attitude is holding his store back. If the old man truly loves Akihabara, then surely he can find something to like about it. People and places may change, but we can't stubbornly reject everything new. Mion inspires him to make just one more type of curry, and with one more outfit, Mion learns to be a proper member of Mars. As the tournament draws in, Mars can barely catch a break. Ida doesn't have any time left to spend with her little sisters. Feeling neglected, the twins demand to see her on their birthday. Ida's bond with her family is a pretty important part of the story. She's got the most stable home with the main cast, but it's not like there's much competition. Ida's sisters want to go to Prism Land, a theme park Ida went to the last year, and when she doesn't share their enthusiasm, the girls run off and climb a big tree. At the top, they meet a strange girl called Kaname. She's got some vague sensory powers. When Ida comes to get them, she assures the twins that she still has time for them, and to prove it, she overcomes her clumsiness and climbs the tree. Once they see their sister's commitment, the twins forgive her, and Kaname disappears. Right before the tournament, Ida meets Kaname once again, but this time she asks to watch her performance. This is where we see Kaname's strange ability. During the rehearsal, she's able to copy Ida's movements perfectly. Rhythm and Mion watch in confusion as this complete stranger does their choreo. And things go from bad to worse when Kaname is revealed to be Serenon's teammate, their unit name being Serenon with K. There's a clear parallel between both teams here. While Mars is made up of friends who train together, Serena, Kanon, and Kaname have never actually practiced together. They don't even have a unit name, it's just Serenon with K. This helps Mars because their teamwork allows them to come up with a new performance. They even complete their own jump, Mars Phoenix. This tournament also reveals the return of a major character. We know the Aurora reflects the heart, and like we've seen, that can be distracting. Sonata noticed this too, which is why she trained a girl with nothing. No family, no name, and no real connections. A girl with a clear heart. That girl is Kaname. When Serenon K performs, she commands Kaname to attempt the Aurora Rising. The jump completely fails and ruins the group's performance. While it costs her team the win, Sonata feels that it's sufficient. This is her new personal project. Sonata has returned to Japan with a perfect successor. Not Rhythm, but a new daughter. Kyoko's rival is gunning for Prism Queen, but this time, the successors will compete in their place. So it's up to Kyoko to raise Mars to that level. To win this year's tournament, the Aurora Rising will be mandatory. All conflict in Pretty Rhythm involves the Prism show, so if two people got divorced, you can probably guess why. Kyoko was raised by Kei, a legendary Prism star, and Kintaro, a stage designer. While Kei found success on the rink, her husband struggled to do so on the stage. As a result, he turned his eyes to Kyoko. If he couldn't achieve his own dreams, then she would do it for him. Kei didn't want Kyoko to debut so young, not until she had learned the Aurora Rising. But Kintaro insisted, pushing Kyoko to the top at just 14. So why couldn't she perform the Aurora Rising? Well, just like Rhythm, Kyoko was trying to repair her family. Sanata completed the jump because she came from nothing, and even when she found family, she gave them up too. Rhythm and Kaname are repeating history, which is what makes their rivalry so much fun. But Rhythm doesn't know who Kaname's coach is. Not yet. When Kaname performs at the Winter Snow Cup, she does Sanata's choreo, confirming their connection. And this performance is Rhythm's last straw. At her lowest point yet, Rhythm turns to Kyoko's mother, the creator of the legendary jump. Rhythm's training with Kei is just as intense as her mother's. She has to leave behind Mars, her family, and even the boy she likes. But Rhythm's father has seen this before, so he begs Ida to save her. But Rhythm doesn't want to come home. She challenges Ida for the tiara, and refreshingly, Ida takes her on. During their match, Rhythm's emotions manifest in a dark aura. Remember that the Aurora is a mirror, and so of course, the jump fails. But even worse, Rhythm gets pulled into hell. It's up to Ida to save her. Ida has to dive through Rhythm's dark emotions to find the real her, because deep down, Rhythm's a lonely girl in pain. Her mother abandoned her and has seemingly returned with a brand new project. That would break anyone. Rhythm's been carrying this pain all along, and once she's saved, she finally breaks down. She's tried so hard to be strong, but the truth is she's jealous. She's jealous that everyone else seems so happy, that they've got their parents, that they can perform so freely. This is where Rhythm needed to get. At least according to her coach, who's got a pretty bad track record. When Kei sees her break down, she says this is what she's waiting for and walks away. Each girl from Mars takes a different approach to becoming the Prism Queen. Ida trains with Kyoko, Rhythm trains with Kei, and Mion travels abroad to create her own jump. During this trip, she meets her parents and learns to embrace her full self. It all comes back to family after all. The final four of the tournament are Kaname, Rhythm, Mion, and Ida. We finally made it to the Prism Queen Cup. Kaname's up first. She performs the jump in the qualifiers, so Sanata's confident she'll win. So confident that she tells her they're going right back to Russia as soon as this is all over. This catches Kaname by surprise. How could she leave everything behind? I feel it's important to note that Kaname is 12 in a wedding dress, doing the most dangerous sport in the whole world just to make her mom happy. During her performance, Kaname looks into the Aurora, and it shows the happiest moments in her life. Her time with her mother. Meeting Sanata, getting her name, Kaname can't let go of that, and the thought that her mom would deny Rhythm. That's why she fails. That's why Sanata failed. The greater the happiness, the greater the fear that you'll lose it. And when this fear is reflected in the Aurora, performers tend to wince. As soon as Kaname fails though, Sanata decides it's time to keep running. She hops in a car and hauls her off to the airport. The news of her retreat reaches Rhythm, who doesn't bother giving chase. She plans to use the Aurora's power to reach her mom. So when she does the jump, she shows Sanata her happy life and begs her to be a part of it. It's a pretty heartbreaking part of the anime, and Sanata's not done running. So what did she see in the Aurora? What scared her so much? 13 years ago, when Sanata did the jump, she saw her family, her husband, and the abandoned baby Rhythm. All the things she had left behind to perfect this jump. That's what kept her running for 13 years. The truth was too painful. She couldn't accept what she did to her family, and it's not until Rhythm cries at the airport, promising to make happy memories if she'll just return, that Sanata's willing to face her. It's one of the harshest things any character has to go through, and this is a show where people actually go to hell. The next contestant is Mion. I think she gets a pretty raw deal in this tournament. Her brand new jump is extraordinary, earning her a perfect score, and narratively she's kind of like Kyoko's other successor, a harsh professional inventing new and daring jumps. So I think it's a real shame that she performs right before the main character. I also think it's wild that they gave her a perfect score, knowing damn well she's about to lose. This is low-key my Sumida moment for the Aikatsu fans. So what exactly could surpass a 10,000 out of 10,000 score? Well, the final contestant is Harune Aida, and we didn't bring up her family for nothing. Aida serves to show that our connections don't hold us back, they lift us up. In episode 1, she jumped on instinct because she loved her clothes, and when the Prism show threatened her family bonds, she took time to repair them. Out of all the girls, she's the most at peace with her heart, and that just feels a little unfair. Kaname failed her jump, Rhythm was disqualified for leaving, and Mion got a perfect score. By all means, the tournament should be over. But Aida's just an ordinary girl, and because of that, winning this tournament was just a dream to her. Mion was already an idol, and Rhythm gave her whole life to this. Aida is just a normal girl who somehow stumbled her way to the top. The kids in the audience lose it when they see her, because that's them, both in the show and the real-life audience. She's not in it to win it either, she just wants to make everyone happy. This ideal is reflected in Aida's version of the Aurora Rising. There's a second part of this jump that no one else has had access to. So what does Aida see in her Aurora? Well, it's everyone. Aida loves everyone, and that love spreads the Aurora across the world. This isn't just her Prism jump, this is everyone's Prism jump. Aida uses the Aurora's power to reunite Kyoko and Sonata, allowing them to jump together, and then to let Mars do it, and then Serenon, and then everyone. Aida carries everyone's feelings in her heart. When she heard the kids right before her performance, she understood. I'll admit I'm a bit cynical that she got to finish her jump after Rhythm failed, but I'm glad they all get to do it in the end. Her performance is so great that it receives score unknown. They calculated a score, but it was just so good that it doesn't even matter. Given what she did though, I think that's pretty fair. This is her Aurora dream. Something fun about Pretty Rhythm is that every plot is moved by the adults. Despite following Mars, the plot is mostly moved by Sonata. She's rivals with Kyoko, learned to jump from Kyoko's mother, and abandoned Rhythm. She is the link between all these generations. Once Rhythm has reconciled with her mom, it's time to go a generation up, because the next season is all about Kyoko. Pretty Rhythm Dear My Future is set 3 years later. In it, we follow two major units, Purity and Prismy, on their way to the top. Our main character is Ageha Mia, a hyperactive girl who wants to beat Aida. Why? Because she wants to be number 1. Mia's confidence is at odds with her complete lack of skill. She can't even skate. If you watch the show, you may have seen her in a montage during the Aurora Rising dream. She witnessed this alongside Reina, Karin, and Aimi, 3 other girls who've already started training. But despite their effort, they've yet to make a debut. So when Mia charges in full of confidence, they're pretty upset. How could someone so talentless become number 1? The season's name is pulled from its focus on the future. Whenever Mia is doubted, she always asks, "Did you come from the future? Well, how do you know I won't succeed?" Her confidence draws in those around her. She is the star at the center of her friends. So, just like Aida, let's look at how she did her first Prism jump. While Aida was motivated by her clothes, Mia is motivated by others. In the first episode, she nearly does one with her friend's encouragement, but that won't be enough. It's not until she sees Aida in the spotlight that she's able to do her own jump, shining future star. Mia's motivations stem more from competition and support, and that's something we're going to examine as the story goes on. Her primary rival is Hain, a Korean girl who's part of the unit Purity. She's pretty insecure in her own abilities and constantly struggles to match her teammates. While Mia's a total amateur, Haein's been training since childhood. Individually, every member of Purity is better than every member of Mia's unit, Prismy, but together, they can't really compare. Prismy are a group that's held together by one star, kinda like the sun and its planets, but Purity work better alone. The star stuff will make sense at the end, so stick with me for now. This season's major competitions are all themed around the Symphonia series, a mysterious fashion line with an unknown designer. The dresses introduce the series' second major symbol, the butterfly. It represents evolution. See, the Symphonia series was designed to be perfect, but perfection must evolve. The Prism Jump's evolution is the Prism Act, a little play that happens at the end of a performance. Prism Acts always start with the act line, a road leading to the future. It's a new innovation in the sport, but doesn't really help with the scoring. In fact, most people think it's silly entertainment. Very lowbrow. But a certain MC, Don Bombi, seems pretty interested. Don Bombi is a charismatic clown that hosts most of the events. He convinces Kyoko to put most of the girls in Symphonia tournaments, and while they don't count for the Prism Queen Cup, they do reward them with the special Symphonia stones. During the Prism Summer Festival, we get to see Prismy and Purity go head to head. The way that they compete tells us a lot about Mia and Hain. Mia gets along with her friends, and so when she fails her jump, they're able to lift her back up, and that allows her to finish. The team works together. In contrast, Hain's teammates tell her not to hold back. See, Hain's been struggling to match with the rest of Purity, and while at first it's implied that she's insecure about her lack of talent, the story shows us that she's actually really good, and in some ways, being part of a unit might be holding her back. Remember how the last season was focused on one solo tournament? Well, this season kind of examines what it's like to compete as part of a team, and whether individual glory is actually worth it. So, during Purity's performance, Hain decides to let herself go, and butterfly wings appear behind her. This ties her to Symphonia, the main dresses of this season. It reflects her desire to evolve. She's not good enough yet, but she will be, even if she has to soar past her teammates. Prismy wins the tournament because they're a good team, but Hain wins MVP because she stood out. During the past 3 years, both Rhythm and Mion became Prism Queen before losing to Ida once again. We didn't bring him up, but Ida's love interest is this guy called Sho. He designs most of the girls' clothes, but has a subtle envy for Ida's sense of style. It's pretty embarrassing, he gets very dramatic about it. And in season 2, we meet his rival, Yunsu, a much kinder guy with classy, mature designs. While Sho dresses Ida like a cute girl, Yunsu dresses her as the woman she might be. It's a pretty cool dichotomy. When Sho tells him that he knows Ida's style more, Yunsu asks if that will stay true. Will Ida choose someone new, or stay true to her first love? Will she be a cute girl forever, or will she eventually wear more mature clothes? I personally think Yunsu's a much better rival, but we're going to talk about them later. The boys are not too important. They're just around. As the Prism Queen, Ida's pretty chill. She barely takes Mia's challenges seriously and simply encourages her to be better. You get the vibe that she's still an ordinary girl behind all the fame. And this really frustrates Mia. How could it not? She wants a fierce rival, not a kind friend. It's another really fun dynamic between the characters. But that's enough fluff. How are they suffering this time? Remember how I said Kyoko's father was a designer, and there's a strange clown running around who's connected to these magical dresses? It's time to connect those dots. Kyoko's father, Asachi Kintaro, started out as a costume designer. At the time, he was married to Yunsu's mom, Myongya. Together, they brought his concepts to life. It wasn't until he saw Kei do the Aurora Rising that he turned his attention toward Prism shows. This led him to invent the Prism Act, the new gimmick of the season. Kintaro's personal dream is Grateful Symphonia, a Prism Act of many stars that makes the audience happy. And for his dream, Kintaro used all the women around him. Myongya, his first wife, Kei, his second, and even Kyoko, his daughter. Nothing would stand in the way of his dreams. He even became a shadow promoter, buying wins and driving girls out of the industry. This is why he became Don Bonby, to have easy access to new talent and scout performers strong enough to perform Grateful Symphonia. So, Mia, Hain, and Ida, the three candidates for Kintaro's dream. Let's see who opens the door first. Every Prism act starts with the act line, and Symphonia Prism acts are so powerful that you need to get past the door to unlock them. Hain's up first. When she travels to the Wind Village to promote Prism shows, Don Bonby follows and shows her a strange new design. It's so good that just the sketch gets her hooked, and this desire to evolve shows up in her performance, where Hain skates past her friends again toward the gate of Symphonia. Or is it the gate to hell? I love how unregulated the sport is. You'd think they would have shut it down with so many scandals, but no, she's falling into hell and they open up a big door and there's wind and the attempt is a failure. Attempt number 2 involves Ida. At the time, she's deciding what to wear for a major Prism Queen tournament. Don Bonby finds her and once again, his design is so good she immediately loses her soul. Remember how I said Kaname has weird sensory powers? Well, it's implied based on that Ida's not really here anymore. Her soul is trapped somewhere else. The new Ida immediately joins a Symphonia tournament and soars right past the doors. This allows her to perform the Prism act, Road to Symphonia. She wins the tournament, allowing Don Bonby to reveal himself. At last, he's found someone strong enough. Evil Ida declares that Mars will never compete again, and to their credit, Mion and Rhythm stick beside her. Ida's words are Kintaro's ideology, a world of pure entertainment, no winners or losers. In a way, it's Ida's passivity pushed to the max. This is one of the story's best twists, and it's when the show gets really good. DMF is quite a hard show to recommend because it only gets good, 38 episodes in, but I really like this choice. The next arc is about saving Ida's soul. How? Through the Prism show, of course. One by one, each unit tries to open Symphonia's gates to rescue Ida from beyond them. Should they fail, they'll have to leave Kyoko's agency and join Kintaro's. This is dramatized by lifting them into an airship covered in butterflies. He's very dramatic. Serenon K goes first. They're still pissed about Mars ditching their tournament, and using their prism jumps, they're able to break Hell's door, which for some reason appears right before the Symphonia gates. I don't know, guys. They try to break it using Prism Unicorn Destroy, but it doesn't budge. Ida comes to the door, but only to warn them. Without Symphonia clothes, Serenon K can't enter. Strength alone won't be enough. The next attempt is by Callings, a unit made up of Ida's brother and a guy named Younghwa. They're great characters, but this show has like 15 leads. Itsuki reminds Ida of her family, but Symphonia's influence is too strong. He charges with a sword and fails. This attempt goes to show how much Ida has changed. She used to be pretty into her family and clothing, but now neither of those move her. But these attempts do give us handy clues that the boys can use to save her. What Ida is obsessed with is Symphonia. But what makes these dresses so captivating? The Symphonia designs carry Kintaro's endless ambition, and the singular focus to evolve is sewn into each dress. Yunsu learns this from his mom, Kintaro's first wife. He works with Sho to create new Symphonia dresses for the girls to evolve the design into something new. At Symphonia HQ, Kintaro is also evolving, asking Mars to perform a brand new Prism act, the Sky High Symphonia. Ida promises to do it in time for the next challenge. Despite her promise, when Prismy arrives to challenge her, Ida fails to evolve the act, a sign that something's still missing. The boys make the new dresses in a pretty intense montage and give them to Prismy, but for some reason, Mia's hasn't evolved. Setback aside, The door finally opens, allowing Prismy to fly to Mars. Ida doesn't come back, but she does drop a hint. Reaching Symphonia won't be enough. The girls will have to surpass it. Finally, we're at the last challenge, which pits Purity against Mars. They all get new dresses, but Hands doesn't evolve. The girls are able to reach Symphonia, but this time, they know it won't be enough. This time, they'll have to show Ida something beyond. And they decide to do this using their clothes, the evolved designs of what she's wearing. It's not surprising that Ida gets brought back using clothing, but I do think it's funny that a family member had to show up and she would not budge. Through their clothes, Purity is able to rid Ida of Symphonia's influence, but they still have to get back. How are they going to do that? You guessed it, evolution. They're going to break past the universe's walls. It's explained as like passing your limits, but you guys get it. It's all very symbolic. They perform a new act called Sky High Symphonia and break through the universe's walls. It's such a fun end to the arc. Unfortunately, Kintaro still got an ace up his sleeve. Unable to accept his loss, he decides to attack the Prism show itself. Remember Kyoko and Sonata's rivalry and how much of that led to the first season? What if all that was a lie? What if all this time Kyoko's father had been buying her wins? That is what he reveals. One of the sport's founding myths was a complete sham. It's a pretty big twist that kind of undermines Kyoko as a character, but I do like what it does for the story. I also love that right after this he has a coughing fit and they let him choke because death is claiming him. It's a pretty strange show, but it's time for the final arc. Now that everyone hates the Prism show, Kyoko decides to win back the world using her father's concept, Grateful Symphonia. After all, if they can remake the greatest form of entertainment, maybe people will forgive them. The final episodes of DMF are a pretty wild abstract mess that attempts to answer every question in the story thus far. For this video, we'll focus on the main one. What does it take to be number one? I'm sure you've all waited to find out what Grateful Symphonia is, and I'm so happy to tell you. 4 Prism acts performed at Buenos Aires, broadcast by Aurora worldwide. Why is it there? Well, that's where Prism shows started. Act 1. The Waking Symphonia. This act is about whether might makes right. It's also a long manzai skit about the right way to make eggs. Do you like your eggs crispy or should they be runny? Sarah and Non argue about it and then start to fight, but Mia and Heian remind them to talk it out. I cut it for time, but there was a whole tournament where they were chosen. They had their own argument about being friends or rivals, and the solution was talking it out. That's about it. The next act is Road to Symphonia, and this time, Ida's boyfriends must battle it out for her love. It is my least favorite of the 4 acts. Yunsu makes some great points, like how Sho makes Ida suffer to protect his weak heart. Not to mention, Sho is jealous of her, he's always ignoring her, he's always being dramatic in the rain, so I think Yunsu is a much better partner. But right when Yunsu is about to win the sword fight, Ida starts crying and falls into hell. While Yunsu tries to save her, Sho dives right in, prepared to die. So I think this one's about Sho and Ida accepting how painful their love will be, which is an odd message. Earlier on, Sho said love is better as a pure ideal, and that is icky when you think about the fact that he only designs cute girly clothes for Ida. It's pretty loaded. They also vaguely imply that Yunsu styles Ida in like dark mature outfits because his mom kind of dresses like that. There's a lot of weird stuff to do with marriage and motherhood in this, but that could honestly form its own video. I speak about it a little over here. I'm not sure what they meant by it, but Yunsu deserved better. So that's what's going on. Act 3. The Sky High Symphonia. The girls wake up in the primeval sea, watching all their memories. This is the closest explanation to why it's called Grateful Symphonia. There's a theme that we should be grateful for what happens to us, grateful for those we meet, and there's kind of a whole, the world would be a better place if we were all grateful and talked things out. That seems to be what they're going for, but I was just as confused. Prismy then take them into space where they meet Kintaro himself. He's upset that they're changing his plans and decides to impale the entire cast by their wings. Just what is this problem? See, Kintaro doesn't want to face the future, and as a perpetual loser, competition is a big threat. That's why he undermines the sport. He wants to paralyze the girls in the present moment and avoid any more pain. Kintaro is refusing to evolve. The entire season has been loosely tying a lot of themes together, which is the vibe. If you like that, check it out. But I'm here to answer what it takes to be number one. After all, Grateful Symphonia can't be the greatest Prism act unless he's willing to lose. The mass impalement serves to show Mia how many girls she's climbed over. The vision haunts her as she reckons with her own dream. If this is what being number one means, then Mia doesn't want it. Mia would rather fight for everyone's future. She gives a big hero speech and throws Hain through the final door. It's a really selfless move. On the other side, Hain floats alone in a white void, wondering if this is really what being at the top feels like. So far, I've painted her talent as mostly her own, but let's be honest, where would she be without everyone? Without Mia to encourage her, Purity to comfort her, or even the staff that work on the Prism shows? See, no one actually gets to the top alone. Throughout the show, some characters refer to Symphonia as an illusion. And I think I understand why after watching the full series. Symphonia represents the individual pursuit of greatness. That's why everyone it hypnotizes acts alone, not for the team, but for their own glory. And that's why Kintaro was so willing to use anyone. This is his vision of victory. But the girls can evolve those ideas. The final act of Grateful Symphonia is completely original. And in it, Mia chooses to reunite with Hain, but not just her, all the members of Prismy, Purity, Mars, and Serenon. Together, they'll perform their own Grateful Symphonia. A massive white tree with prism stars all around it. This is the series' true vision of competition. A tree with its own roots and branches, where some stand above others, but all are equally important. You can't be number one if you're all alone. Additionally, trees grow and change, and the highest branch won't be there forever. Evolution is the only way to stay on top, from Sonata to Ida to Mia and Hain. Kintaro failed because he didn't want to evolve. He didn't want to compete. When his plays failed to do well, he refused to advance with the times. We see a quick little vision of his two wives in wedding dresses, and he wonders if maybe, just maybe if he had worked with them, if he could have realized Grateful Symphonia all those years ago. Becoming number one is never a finite goal, and to achieve it, you might have to break past the walls of the universe. This is Dear My Future's final message. Well, that was a pretty long journey. From ice skating to losing your soul, to fashion to losing your soul, I would say it's a happy-go-lucky show for girls of all ages. Pretty Rhythm is a really weird anime. Despite the series' success, I rarely see people talking about it. So I really hope you enjoyed my attempts to unpack it. I'll be honest, this was a huge challenge because the show is borderline incomprehensible at some points. I'm pretty sure its sequel went untranslated because most of it is just puns, and it never feels ashamed of being a kids show selling toys while talking about family trauma, competition, and the nature of friendship and rivalry. With that said, let's acknowledge this month's patrons. Gabby, Imaru the Fiore Lover, Rugia, La Perla del Gacha, Gerard Cacciaturian, Gabby, Imaru the Fiore Lover, Rugia, La Perla del Gacha, Gerard Cacciaturian, Muhammad Oscar Noor Hakim, Nya EXC, It's Blue, Reski Amalia, Suzaku, Celine Envoy, Ayusha Rai, Ella Corcoran, Kit Kate, Evelina Poinsett, Lumin An, Babu Raz, Mariel Ishimwe, Namura, Ina, and Dimitri Fennick. If you made it this far, tell me what you think of the new mic.